Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the geometry webinar for high school. My name is Veronica Davalos, and along with me, the other coordinator, Joe Michelina, will be joining us in a few minutes. He is finishing up a different webinar, but should be with us shortly. But we are both coaches and coordinators for the district. For those of you that don't know us, we've been kind of behind the scenes trying to get this new curriculum in place for high school math. So today we're going to be focusing on just the geometry content of it, but with that, we want to give you an overview of what the curriculum is. Some of you have seen it already, especially if you were a pilot teacher, but many of you have not. And we want to give you an overview of the curriculum, the lesson design, before going off on summer break. We don't have set dates yet for when the publisher will be giving us training. So we wanted to give you this prior to all of that. So again, thank you for joining us, and feel free to use the chat to post any questions. In the meantime, while Joe joins us, I'm going to try to keep a look on the chat and go through the presentation as well. But feel free to use that to, as we go along and any questions come up, I'll keep an eye on the chat as well. So today is all about enVision geometry. And these are the three textbooks that have been adopted for the upcoming school year: Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And along with those three courses, we will also be offering what used to be pre-AP, what this year is pre-AP. Next year, we will be calling that honors to keep that pre-AP title away, because that will now be copyrighted by the College Board. So the titles will be changing to honors for all three courses on here. Along with the textbooks, we're also going to be adopting an online platform called Pearson Realize, which will be available for all of the student devices that they have at school, but they will also be able to access this platform on their phones, on their iPads. It's across devices, not just for their school device. So that's part of the adoption process here. So the first thing is, these are all the topics that are found in each of the three courses. Today, as we said, we're focusing on the geometry ones, and any questions that come up pertaining to geometry, we'll try to get those answered as we go through the hour here. So let's talk first about the student components. What will our students be receiving with this adoption? So first and foremost, they will each be receiving a student print edition. We had been debating whether getting classroom sets would be better or getting a student edition per student. Ultimately, the school board has voted that all of our students will be getting their own checked out student edition in print. So that will be coming. Along with that textbook, every student will also get what's called a student companion. This is a consumable workbook that goes along with all of the lessons. Every assignment that comes in the lessons has an extra set of additional practice problems in this consumable, and those will be available every year. So the students will be able to keep, write on, tear pages if they need to, things like that. The other part to this adoption is this digital courseware called Pearson Realize. And as I had mentioned, this is going to be accessible for all of their devices. And what students will be able to find here is they'll be able to access that student edition e-text. This is like, imagine this is like a PDF version. It's just not a PDF, but it's a static student edition, page by page, what they would have in their physical textbook. Another type of a student edition that comes with this adoption is called an interactive student edition. And this comes in the form of an app, and this app can be downloaded onto the student devices, their cell phones, whatever they have. It's an app that they can download onto it. It also comes directly in the Pearson Realize website if they don't have memory or storage on their device to download this. But this interactive student edition, they're able to actually work out problems on there, and especially in geometry, they're able to use the tools on there like the protractor and things like that to better understand those problems. The other part to this is lesson videos. There's a program called Virtual Nerd that comes with this, which is quick little 4 or 5 minute videos on how to explaining the basics of the lesson. And each lesson comes with this. The other portion, it's called MathXL for School. This is where students get practice and assessments online. So the textbook itself comes with a whole section of practice problems, but along with that, you also have extra problems that correlate to those, and those would be found in this MathXL format. Everything that's listed on here is all on the same website, pearsonrealize.com, so we'll be taking a look at that towards the end as well. Teacher components. In terms of teachers, our teachers will be getting a print teacher's edition. It comes in 2 volumes. And that will also come with what's called a program overview, kind of explaining the 3 courses, how they connect, the standards, pacing, different things like that come in this program overview. The third thing is an assessment resources book. And just like our students, our teachers will also be receiving the Pearson Realize digital courseware. The difference would be then that in our teachers, they would be getting the teacher's edition, just like the students. They get the static version and they get the interactive version. They also get access to the assessments. You don't necessarily need the print resource book to see those assessments. These are all available digitally as well. There are instructional tools that use Desmos. Most of you are familiar with the Desmos website. So there are instructional tools that have Desmos embedded into them already. There's also differentiated practice that is powered through this program that I had mentioned earlier, MathXL for School. So there's several different ways that this can be customized per teacher. Along with all of this, in this Pearson Realize website, there are PD videos and resources that are embedded into each of the topics and each of the lessons to help support our teachers as the year goes on. So it's not a full-on PD at the beginning and then we forget what was taught and things like that. It goes with each of the topics. And then last but not least is the ExamView assessment generator. This is a program. Some of you may be familiar with this, and we used to have it years ago when we had Holt. It's a program like that where you generate tests for assessments. Okay, so this will all be part of the adoption. Every one of our teachers will be getting this. So what we want to go through is give you an overview of how the course is structured and what to expect as you start teaching from here. So first of all, every course is going to include several different things. As I had mentioned, the first one is classroom videos of the program components. So you not only get PD videos for the teacher, you also get classroom videos on specific lessons, specific ways of presenting a lesson, things like that. Every course also comes with a beginning of year assessment. So at that beginning of the year, you would like to see where your students are, especially with this school closure that we have right now going on. We know that we're going to have students that have gaps more than normal years. So this beginning of year assessment is included in every one of the 3 courses. There's also broad conceptual topics that cover the Common Core standards, so it's all aligned to those standards. Benchmark tests are also provided, and they are provided every 2 topics. So we wouldn't necessarily have to go elsewhere to get benchmark tests. These are already included with the program, and they are every 2 topics. You also have a mid-year and an end-of-course assessment. This could be used for balloting purposes. This could be used for finals, different things like that. And along with all of those, there's also what they call next generation practice tests. These are tests that are aligned, they could be aligned to CASP, to the SAT. The format of the test is that format. And then there are also performance tasks with each of the courses on here, because we know now that not every test that the students will be expected to take in the future is all multiple choice. There's different performance tasks that they are expected to do as well. So again, every course has all of this already embedded into that course. So let's look at the geometry course topic specifically. This is the page straight out of the teacher textbook here. But if you look at the topics for geometry, we've been teaching Math 1, Math 2, Math 3 for several years now. So we've had geometry kind of scattered in the 3 courses. So we're going back to traditional sequencing. Now this geometry course will be completely geometry on here, except for that very last topic on there, which is probability. But everything on here has to do with congruence, trigonometry, circles, everything that has to do with what we used to teach back in the regular geometry class prior to going integrated. So these are the 12 topics that come in this course. So let's look at a specific topic here. Every topic when you open up your teacher's edition, every topic will start with 4 different what are called math backgrounds. The first one is a focus math background. And what this is, it gives you a whole page of what standards, what content standards the students will be learning in this topic. So it not only gives you the standards, the way that they're written, but it gives you examples of what those standards would be. So in the case of this topic, it's topic 1, Foundations of Geometry. I see that there's 2 columns here. One is understanding line segments and angles, and the other is using reasoning to write proofs. So those are the 2 main ideas that students should be able to get out of this entire topic. So that's the first one. Second one is coherence. So the coherence is tying whatever the students will be learning in this topic, it ties it back to what they should have learned, and it ties it forward to what they will be learning. So it gives you right in the middle column, it gives you what they will be learning this year, but then ties that prior and forward to why they would be learning this. So this is the coherence portion of it. The next one is rigor. And in rigor, we have 3 different aspects. We have the conceptual understanding, which are all that first column that you see on there. We have the procedural fluency, what is expected, what skills should students get out of this? And then we have the applications. How is this idea, this understanding, this applied? So those are the 3 aspects of rigor. The conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, and the applications would be in this page. And again, they all come with examples, not just written words for here. And then the 4th part of this topic is the math practices. So we have all seen the 8 mathematical practices in the past, and it's math practice 1, math practice 2, all 8 written that way. The way that this book presents them is it presents them in groups. So if I look right in the middle here, highlighted math practices within topic 1 lessons, I have recent abstractly and quantitatively, but it explains to me how that looks in this topic. And then the other one, look for and use structure. It also explains to me within the topic how that math practice would look. So this is the topic overview for every one of our topics here. The other portion of this topic overview is what comes prior to starting all of the lessons, prior to you teaching lesson number 1. So every topic comes with a PD video. It comes with a readiness assessment. Now we had mentioned readiness assessment prior. That would be for the entire course, but every topic itself has a readiness assessment. It also comes with a topic opener and a STEM project. So for especially the honors courses where students need to be pushed a little above and beyond, they have these STEM projects for every topic. And then you have your set of lessons, so content-focused lessons. And it also comes with PDFs of Common Core Standards practice, little, 1 or 2 problems that can be used maybe as warm-ups, as lesson starters, things like that. So this is for every week of the school year. And every topic also includes 1 act or 1 task that's called mathematical modeling in 3 acts. So we've seen some 3-act tasks in our past, especially when we were introduced to Common Core. So every topic already includes 1 of those. And the nice thing about these is that once you get into the digital platform, many of these 3-act tasks have decimals already embedded into the task itself. So they're very interactive. And then every topic comes with a MathXL topic review and their own assessment and performance assessments. So here's your topic planner. As if I look at just the 2 pages that come in my teacher's edition, out of those 2 pages, I see my calendar for that topic. It tells me lesson 1.1, 2 days, 1.2, 2 days, so on. Every lesson is basically 2 days, the way that the book is structured. But along with that, I can clearly see the vocabulary, the objectives, and the essential understandings. And right down at the bottom, I also see everything that's available to me digitally for this topic. So starting my topic, here's an example of a readiness assessment. This one is available both in print and digitally, and most of the assessments are. But if you do the digital version, it'll be auto-scored so that you're able to quickly see what that readiness portion of for the students is. But here's a quick little example. They're multiple choice and free response questions. And you also get to see the depth of knowledge of this readiness assessment. And again, this is for every topic. So here's the first couple of pages from the actual student textbook and how the topic looks and what they see as they open up their book to this topic. So they see their list of all of the excuse me, of all of the lessons, but they also see all of the topic vocabulary, their essential question. But I think the most valuable part of these 2 pages is down at the bottom where it says digital experience. They get to see everything that's available to them while they're learning this topic on here. So now let's look at a lesson overview. How is the lesson structured? As you look at the teacher edition portion and the student edition, you're going to see all of these little icons at the top of the page. What they are is they're referring you back to the website and telling you in this page, you might have an activity that goes with what you're looking at, or you might have an assessment, or there's a tutorial, different things. But all of these icons will be up at the top of the page. So let's look at an actual lesson in the student edition. So we'll stick with topic 1, lesson 1. This one is called Measuring Segments and Angles. And as I'm looking at these 2 pages on here, I see that the very beginning, I have my essential question or my objective. I have my vocabulary. And then I also have my very first opening assignment, which is called Explore and Reason. We'll go into more detail into what that is in a minute. And then I have my concept of what that, how that ties into the essential question. And then we'll get into example 1. So this being geometry, you see the concept, the terms all have to do with some sort of a construction or diagram that goes with it, and a lot of notation. And let me turn to the next 2 pages here. So I see example 2, 3, and 4. And as I'm just doing a quick overview of the student pages here, but I can see that after every example, there's a try it. There's study tips. It's telling me, for example, this example 2 is a conceptual understanding example. I have the postulates, everything else that goes with this, but it's very clean in terms of being student friendly. Let me go to the next 2 pages here, example 5 and 6. Same thing, but now I see that example 5 is an application problem. There's another study tip over here for example 6. And then as I turn the page again, this is showing me the concept summary in words, in diagrams, and in symbols. And then we have, do you understand and do you know how? Every lesson will end in this way. It will have a concept summary and then this section over here that can be used as a formative assessment. And then we get to what we call the homework pages. So the homework pages are these 2 here, and they're separated into 4 columns. The first one is understand. Second one is practice. Third one is apply. And then the 4th one is my assessment practice. And it looks like, oh, I don't have 100 problems to choose from. But remember that this is all tied back into the digital platform. Everything that you see here has extra problems in the digital platform. So let's say I really think that my students need practice with number 26. There's several other problems that are just like number 26 in the digital platform. So if this is not enough for our kiddos, there's a lot more over there as well. And then those icons that I was talking about, those are up at the top of the pages. There's another one here that I did not include in the icons, but this one says scan for multimedia. We'll talk about what that is in a minute also. But that's your actual student pages. Let's look at the teacher edition version of this. So when I open up my page to my lesson overview, this is the page that comes up. As I'm looking at it, I have my focus, my coherence, and my rigor. Those three things that I had talked about earlier for the topic. Now they're referring to these in terms of just this lesson. What are the objectives? What am I supposed to learn? What should I have learned prior so that it would help me with this? And how will this help me going forward? And you also have your actual content standards. Those are separate from the lesson overview. These are more, just for us teachers. The top portion is more for the student-friendly language. Then we have the key vocabulary, and notice that it's both in English and in Spanish. And along with that, we have the some sort of an activity that'll tie into that vocabulary. The other one is we have those math practices tied into this lesson as well. So that's my first page. So let's get into the lesson structure. So what this book does is it uses what's called a 4-step lesson structure. Step 1 is called explore. Step 2, understand and apply. Step 3, practice and problem solve. And step 4 is assess and differentiate. So let's look at each one of these and see how those are done. Starting with step 1, this is a problem-based learning activity. And every lesson will either be called model and discuss, or critique and explain, or explore and reason. It'll be one of the three. So the example that we've been looking at is called explore and reason. So in this one, this serves as our opening for the lesson. It's this problem solving type of a lesson. And as I'm looking at my teacher's edition, I'm going through, it's telling me what to do before starting it, what to do during, and then what to do after. And all of these have this little icon, ETP, which is effective teaching practices. Some of us know it as CSTPs, but this is just for this one problem. And every one of these comes with what they call habits of mind, which is just questions to pose to the class to generalize what it is that we're trying to get out of this explore problem that we're doing. Over on the side, you have you're able to see both the digital and the print experiences for the students. So whether you're a teacher that just wants the print, you get to see it there. If you're one of those digital teachers that loves the digital portion of it, it's also on there. You see both experiences, you see how they tie into this lesson. And being that this is an explore type of a problem, the other portion that comes on this page is you get to see an actual sample student work. So maybe it's one of those where you can't really get the class to participate, or they really can't, sometimes it's hard to get them to the answer that we want as teachers. These are your samples right here to help you guide that conversation. So this is step 1. Step 2 has to do with your actual guided instruction. This is where we teach all the mathematics explicitly. This is where we go through all of the examples, the triads, and ultimately we build to that concept summary and to the formative assessments of do you understand and do you know how. So in this step 2, here's our first page out of the teacher edition. So the first thing is you see the essential question up at the top. And it's always good just to keep referring to that as our focus for this lesson. You're also given a set of probing questions that'll help you to kind of scaffold the learning, to guide the discussion that you want to have going forward on here. And then the example that's given up at the top is the one that the students have in their textbook. But if that's not enough, there's also additional examples. Maybe kids have a lot of questions as you're going through this, and you as a teacher are trying to come up with problems, on the spot. They're already given to you on that page, along with the answers that go with it, along with the questions that you should use as you're, teaching this portion of it. So these are all additional examples that are printed in the teacher's edition, but they're also available on the Pearson platform. All right, next page is on the teacher's edition here. We get into example 1 and example 2, and notice that they're all followed by those probing questions, and you also have all of the answers to these. So the ETPs are labeled. So this example 1, the main focus of me as a teacher should be implement tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving. So that's kind of in the back of my mind as I'm going through this problem. And then if you notice also, as I said, they're all followed by a try it example, but they down at the bottom here, we have ideas, examples, differentiated supports for struggling students and for advanced, depending what class you're teaching, right? This is where you would go to get that. And sometimes, most of the time, I should say, our classes have all sorts of levels of students. We have struggling students mixed in with advanced students. That's just the norm. So those supports are there. Going on to the next page, we have example 3, 4, and 5 on this one, but notice on here, we also have habits of mind questions, just like we did in the Explore. And we have the English language learner support as well. And these are split up into listening support, reading support, and writing support. So maybe we have a class where we need them writing. It gives you an example, and again, this is for each lesson. Maybe there's a lesson where you don't necessarily have time, or you think that they need the scaffolding, but it's available for every lesson. And then the next example 6 on here, this is the application type of a problem. Again, all the probing questions along with the answers. And while I'm pointing out the answers, there is another component to this program, which is answers and solutions. So we will get all the problems worked out, all the solutions, not just the answers, but I'll show you that in a minute. The concept summary is shown on here. So what's nice about this is it's always going to split it up into those 3. You have the summary in words, in diagrams, and in symbols. And then it's always followed by that, do you understand and do you know how? And all scattered throughout the lesson, you're going to have these common error callouts. Remember to do this, or students, watch out for this. It kind of helps you to guide that as we're teaching the lesson. So that's step 2. And again, as I had pointed out, the do you understand and do you know how will finish up every lesson. These would be nice little exit tickets. They could be nice to do different things, ideas with these short little questions. So before I go on to step 3, let me pause there a minute and see if there are any questions that I need to answer.
Hey, can you guys hear me? Good afternoon. Veronica, you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Joe.
I've had some trouble with my audio this morning in the other PD that I was in. So good afternoon, everybody. And sorry I missed the very beginning. I think the only question that we really need answered right now, Veronica, is Lori's asking about the workbook, if that's digital.
The workbook is not digital, but we know that the problems that come in the workbook are available on the MathXL. But page by page, what's in the workbook, we have not found a digital version of it. It's extra problems to do. Or Anne, who was one of our pilot teachers, just corrected me. So it is online, the whole workbook for the teacher. Okay, because we've gone through the work on here and had not seen the workbook online. So maybe Anne can tell us where to find it later. Any other questions? All right, we'll keep going in this 4-step lesson structure here. So step 3, practice and problem solve. This is where students actually do their homework. This is the assigned work that we do. And as I had pointed out earlier, this is split up into 4 different portions: understand, practice, apply, and assessment. And everything that you see in the print student book, you also see on the MathXL exercises. The nice thing about MathXL, it's auto-scored. It has learning aids in it, already built in, like videos and scaffolds, things like that. It differentiates assignments, and as I mentioned, there's little tutorial videos for the students to access. So here's my teacher edition page for step 3. And as the first thing that I see on here is that everything that I see in my student edition print will also be available as adaptive practice online. And again, that's for every assignment, every lesson. The item analysis that follows that tells me, okay, when I taught them example 1 and example 2 in the lesson, these are the items that go with that example, and this is the depth of knowledge for those items. So this is a really nice item analysis to have. Maybe this lesson takes 2 days, maybe 3 days. You're able to split it up into homework assignments like that as well. The other portion is if these are not enough problems for students to have, there's additional practice on Pearson Realize. And as I said, they go hand in hand. Same type of problem to help them get more practice in. And then on the next page, again, all the answers corresponding to those problems are on the side. And if I need more, if I need to see those actually worked out as solutions, I'll show you where we get those in a minute. And then again, the assessment practice for the CASP or the SAT or any type of a test that students come up. So that was the end of step 3. Step 4 is assess and differentiate. So every lesson comes with a quiz. It's a short, like 5-question quiz. And this quiz, you can find it either print or online. And again, just like the rest of the online format, it's auto-scored. It provides intervention and different things like that. It has a whole program behind it for response to intervention. And towards the end, I'll show you where that's at. And this is automatically, you get as soon as the students finish taking the quiz online, you get the score. And they get the score as well. So this is how this lesson quiz looks for this sample lesson that we're looking at. So the first thing I see is this is 5 questions. And I see the depth of knowledge for each of those questions, but I also see my differentiated ideas and resources that's given to me. So if a student scored between 0 and 3 points, they need intervention. And there's 3 different additional assignments that I can give them. I'll show those to you in a minute. If they're on level, they scored 4 points, but there are still additional assignments that I could give them. And if they're advanced, they scored 5 points. Well, guess what? There's still additional assignments that I can give them. Just because they're advanced, we can push them a little further as well. The other thing is you're able to see the print form of the quiz, which is these 5 questions down here, but you're also able to see the digital form of it. So this is the first question, and then it goes on to the 5 questions online. But you're able to see both formats on this. So these are the differentiated resources that I was referring to when students take a lesson quiz. These are all, again, available on the Pearson Realize website, but they have different levels. And this first one right here, Reteach to Build Understanding, is trying to scaffold the lesson for those students that need that intervention. The next one is additional practice. If they're on level, if they need more practice, if they're trying to understand it more, that's what this additional practice would be for. Enrichment would be for those honor students or those advanced students that are doing well and would like to learn more about that topic, or you want to push them a little further in their learning. That's what this one is for. And then we have every lesson comes with a mathematical vocabulary type of an assignment, which is this one down here. And I had told you about that icon, Bounce Pages. Bounce Pages is an app that the students can download onto their phone. They take a picture of the textbook page that they have on there, and the app scans the page, and it takes them directly to the video that goes with that lesson. So again, just different little resources for those students that need that extra help. That's all by lesson. So speaking of the differentiation, different resources that come with this. So here's our cycle. Every topic starts with a readiness assessment. In the ideal world, we would teach the lesson. The students would do the practice, then they would take the quiz. They would score well, everything would be fine. We would repeat the cycle for every lesson. And then they would take the summative assessment. We know that The world is not ideal. We know that not every student follows this pattern as much as we would love for them to. So we have these three different levels. We have students that need intervention, those that are on level, and those that are advanced, all mixed in the same class. So at any point in here, the program allows us to have this response to intervention. And that's where those 4 extra assignments come in. So if I have a student that needs intervention, I can choose to give them any of these 3, or all 3 if I wanted to, but any of this to help them along in the learning of this lesson topic. For the on-level students, there's 3 also, and then for the advanced, there's 2. And this is, it's nice to have, especially when we know that they need that extra practice, and usually they do. But this is the cycle that's repeated throughout the textbook. So before we get into assessments and data, let me pause there and see if there's any other questions.
You're good, Veronica.
Okay, moving on then. So assessments and data. Every lesson comes with a quiz, but every topic also has diagnostics, formative, summative assessments. They're already embedded into each of these topics. And again, all available in print, all available digital, and auto-scored if you decide to go digital on here. And the way that, our students are learning currently, digital is very much a necessity, not just something nice to have. And then the assessments, once they take it online and they're auto-scored, they get reported onto the teacher assessment platform, and you'll be able to see the mastery of the content, the progress that the students are making, and the usage once they are logged into the platform. So this is what the teacher account looks like here. So I'm looking at a class where their average scores and assessments is 58%. And this is a pilot class, a sample class that I'm looking at, not a real class. But I see three bars on here, and if I were to, this is just a static image, but if I were on the actual Pearson Realize website, I would be able to click on the bar graphs, and it would tell me what the assessment was, and it would take me directly to all of the information there, all of the student scores, everything would be on there. The next one over, so that's average scores. The next one over is class completion of assignments. So maybe I want to know that they're doing distance learning, maybe they're in the classroom in person, however the case might be. I'm able to look at the progress on here and see how much they're actually completing in terms of the assignments. So this would be here, same thing as above. I can click on each of the bar graphs and it would give me specific information for that assignment that happened on that date. And then down at the bottom, there's average time spent on assignments. So maybe a student is telling you that they're spending, hours and hours doing your homework. Well, you can tell right from here, not only how much time they spent on the website, but how much time was actually due to inactivity. So maybe they just logged in but didn't do anything and left it on for an hour. The system will tell you. So that's all on here as well. So this is always nice to have, just for accountability purposes. Once I do click on one of those little bars, I clicked on one up at the top for a lesson quiz. So this example right here is 1-5 lesson quiz, and this is in Algebra 1, solving equations and inequalities. Again, one of the pilot courses that was given to us from the publisher. But when I look at this, I'm able to see this quiz by standards, by question, by student, or by performance. Maybe I have a cutoff score of like 70% or whatever the case might be. That's where I would find that. And once I'm here, I can use these down arrows to actually look at each individual student. I can go through each of the questions. This is all the data that you get for one assignment, one assessment. So then, speaking of the answers and solutions that I had mentioned earlier, on Pearson Realize, once you log into it, those of you that are math teachers already have a pilot account. If you're not a math teacher, we'll share an account with you that you'll be able to use to go on here towards the end. But when you log into Pearson Realize, this is how the website loads. And once you're on the page, there's a one of the tabs up at the top is Tools. And when you click on that, it gives you all of this here. The first few on here that are listed are available to students and they're available to teachers. So those graphing calculators, those scientific calculators, those are all here. And the math tools up at the top will be especially important for the geometry class because you'll have protractors and compasses and things like that that are interactive. And those will be available throughout the whole website. So that's the first portion of it. The second portion of it is available only to teachers. And these, when you click on them, you won't be able to access them right away. They have to be installed by one of our tech guys. So the answers and solutions, and then the exam view test generator, and then you have a multilingual handbook. So the multilingual handbook would be especially nice for, like, I'm thinking of Davis High School and their Language Institute, where they have many, many languages that they deal with. That's what you have here. So that's through the Pearson Realize website. So let me show you the answers and solutions, how that looks. So once you get that loaded onto your computers, and we'll have to get our techs to load that once we do the official, we pay the publisher for their product type of a thing. This is what you would get for geometry. So once you open that up, it'll be, you know how you have CUDA on your computers right now? It's similar to that. It gets installed, you click on it, this is what loads. So if I look at it, it's all 12 topics. It's every lesson in there. And inside of every lesson is every problem that's in the lesson. So here's an example of one. So this is 1.1, the one that we've been looking at as an example. And if I'm looking at question 15, it's all worked out for me. And the other nice thing about this is that not only do you have the step-by-step solutions for these, but you can filter these out. Maybe you just want the evens, you just want the odds. You want to save them directly on your computer so you don't have to keep going to this app. You can do that as well. You can print them out as a PDF. You can print them out however you want, or you can even present it to your class. So it would, by clicking that button, it would change it so that you're now in presentation mode, and it's showing the class the worked out solution for number 15 or whatever I want to show them. So again, every teacher will get this for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, not just the class that you would be teaching. So just a quick recap of the resources that we have. Topic overviews, where we have the focus, coherence, rigor, and math practices. My topic planner, where I have all the vocabulary, the objectives, the essential understandings. And then the lesson overviews, where I have the lesson objectives and the understandings for that lesson and all the skills and vocabulary for that lesson. So before I go on, let me pause again, see if there's any questions. Okay. All right. So then if you have a teacher pilot account that we gave you towards the end of March, you'll be able to log in using that up until the end of, we believe it's until June 30th that those will be available. We don't have a date yet as to when we will get the official teacher accounts. That has to go through the whole process of placing a purchase order and money exchanging hands and all of that other stuff that is beyond our ability to control. So we don't know when you will get the official teacher accounts, but we know you'll have your pilot accounts, towards the end of June. And another thing that we wanted to point out also before we go to the actual Realize website here is there's going to be a rebranding where Pearson will now be Savvas. So over the summer, over the next coming months, Pearson Realize will be changing to Savvas Realize. So just as a quick little news update on there. So again, before we go to the Pearson Realize website, let's talk about the pacing information. So this is the geometry topics. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of them. And we have to decide what's going to be taught at the CP level courses and what's going to be taught at the honors level courses. And especially second semester is quite tight in terms of how many topics have to be covered. So in order for this to work out the best that we can, now granted, we haven't taught this, nobody has in our district. It's going to be our first year, and as the year progresses, we'll be making adjustments. But we do want to have a pacing meeting coming up next week for geometry on Wednesday, the 27th, to talk about pacing. So if you have input that you want to give us, you're more than welcome to come to that meeting. If you're not able to come to the meeting, but you still want to give us your input, by all means, email us, tell us what you think the course should have, or what topics should be left out, what you would really want to see in it. Let us know. Let us know as you go through those topics and you see maybe you're teaching an honors geometry and you know that time is going to be really tight and you want to focus more on trigonometry or whatever the case might be. Please let us know, and we'll try to get all of the pacing information from everyone and hopefully reach a consensus on that. But that'll be next week, a week from today. So questions so far? All right.
No, Veronica, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So Joe, if you could please share out the attendance link in the chat. It's a funky link that we have here for you guys for attendance. But go ahead, while we're trying to log into Pearson Realize, also make sure that you fill out your attendance for today. And the webinar is Pearson AGA. So do I need to pause there for a minute while that's been inputted in the chat?
Give me a second here. I didn't have it ready to go. I'll get it.
Okay.
Actually, go ahead and move on, and then I'll put it into the chat.
Okay.
Go on.
All right. All right. So for those of you that don't have a pilot teacher account, here's a training account for you to use. So if you need to write that down, go ahead and write it down. I'll give you a minute. And same thing as the pilot accounts, these accounts should be available until the end of June. Hopefully they'll be available until we get the actual teacher accounts. And another thing to point out on teacher accounts is we are working with a publisher trying to get as many teacher editions as we can and as many online digital accounts as we can, so that we're able to share that with not only the math teachers, but we have resource teachers and such that also need this information. So we're working with them to try to get as many copies as we can of the teachers editions and of the digital accounts.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on. I have the attendance link in there.
All right, let me go ahead and go to the website then. While you guys are doing the same on your end, I'll go ahead and go on my end to that Pearson Realize website. And another thing to point out as you are going to this website is the link to Pearson Realize is already in our staff applications page for the Modesto City Schools webpage, and it's also in the students application page. All right, so I've went ahead and logged in onto a pilot account as well on here. You'll see that this is split up into 3 columns: the browse, classes, and data. The student accounts, when they log in, is split up into a very similar format. They'll have their browse, they'll have their classes, but instead of data, they'll have like their assessments and things like that. Okay, but it's very, very similar to the way that it looks when students log in. Once you do start your classes, and you want to put in, say maybe for whatever reason, you want to put in like a sample student account just to get the student experience on what happens when they take a test, when they do an assignment, things like that, you would be able to put in like a sample student into your classes, and then see the program through that lens as well. When we were going through the pilot accounts, these past few months, our pilot teachers got their classes all inputted by the publisher. They didn't have to go in and input students into this platform. When the new school year starts and we've actually have ownership of this platform, they will be automatically synced into your classes. Similarly, how Schoology is synced, you don't have to, type student information into Schoology. It just automatically syncs with your students, whether they drop or they add. It's an automatic behind the scenes sync that happens. This will be very similar, where you won't have to worry about inputting student information or anything like that. Okay, so as we're going through here, let me go to the geometry textbook here, so you see how it loads. As I mentioned earlier, all of this you'll have access to, not just the geometry, but the Algebra 1 and the Algebra 2 textbooks. But it's everything that we had talked about. It's all at the beginning here, the beginning of your assessment, the classroom videos, the interactive student edition, the teacher edition, it's all in here. Benchmark tests, every 2 topics, everything is on here. So I'm at the level right now that's at the course level. If I go to the topic level, topic 1, I'll be able to see what's available for that topic. And again, a readiness assessment for that topic, the PD video for the teacher, and all of the lessons. And I can see that they're all numbered. And then we have these little arrows here. These are the 3-act math tasks that we were talking about. So they already come embedded where they should be taught. So in this case, between lesson 4 and lesson 5. And then towards the end, you have the review, the assessments that come for this topic. So different forms of the assessment as well. So again, we're at the topic level. Let me click on the lesson. So lesson 1.1. And now at the lesson level, notice that at every point I have the student and the teacher editions available to me. And you also have the teacher resources over here on the side. In this case, it would be like a lesson plan. So if I click on the lesson plan, it loads up this way. I can also click on the lesson plan that's editable, so I can change what I have here planned, but that comes for every lesson. I'm going to go back 1 just to show you at the topic level what those teacher resources were. But if I come here to the teacher resources, these are the standards practice worksheets that I was referring to at the very beginning. These are the ones that could be used as, little warm-ups for the class or whatnot. This comes for every week. These are available at the topic level. So this is showing me that this topic should last about 3 weeks. Okay. So again, going back to the lesson level, I have my 4 points to the lesson structure. Here are my teacher and student editions. Here's my explore. Here's my understand and apply, step 2, all of the examples that come with the lesson where I do the guided instruction. Those are all here. Along with that, there's additional examples. So all of this is that portion of the step 2. And then step 3, the practice and problem solve. This is where students do all of their homework. So you have the problems in the textbook, but you also have the MathXL practice and the MathXL mixed review, and a third portion here that's called adaptive practice by Newton. So this is all going with that 1 lesson assignment. And then we get to step 4, which is assess and differentiate. So we have the lesson quiz. And along with that, you have all of the differentiated topics that we had talked about, the enrichment, the additional practice. So the blue ones means that these are done on the computer, on their device. The purple icons means that these are PDFs that maybe you as a teacher would want printed, or the students themselves could print or download and use in their OneNote. So those purple icons would be the ones that you would be able to use in OneNote. And again, the videos that go along with that lesson. So I'm at the lesson point here, and you can navigate through all of the lessons. You have access to all of this, I said, towards June. If I go up here, I have my the tools that I had shown you earlier are right here. But data is where I find the assessment data that I had shown you. So this is the sample class. Yours will have a different title, but if I click on it, it'll take me to the data that I had screenshotted for you during the presentation here. So this is where I'm able to click on the different bar graphs, and just by hovering over them, I'm able to see the information for those. But if I click on some of those, like let me click on this lesson quiz here, I will be able to get the specific information for that. So I'm looking at the standard analysis of it right now. And again, this is a pilot class, so not every student has a score on here, but I'm seeing their score, and I'm seeing by standard how they scored on that. Okay, so I'm in this view right now, standard. If I switch to question, it'll show me the questions, number of students correct, incorrect, partial for the 5 questions, and then the standards that go with that. I get a quick little view of how the students did on here. Or I can go to student analysis and see the individual questions and actually look at the question if I click on that and see what the student responded to that one. And I can stay here, I can go to the next question just for that student, or I can come down here and see the rest of them. Okay, but everything is recorded here for the rest of the school year. Nothing goes away. And then on performance analysis, I'll be able to see, well, let me change this if it'll let me, might not let me, just because I'm in, there we go. Performance analysis breaks it down into, these are all the students that scored less than 70%. These are all the students that scored above 70%. So this is really good to have, especially when it's one of those years that we have to do observations and such. So this is at the data level. Back to classes, you'll have all classes. In this case, there's only one, but you should have all of your classes listed on here. And then under browse, you'll have the 3 textbooks that are these right here for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. So you'll be able to use that account to work with it as much as you can. You're also able to create your own assignments. If there's an assignment that you really like and you want to keep that, you're able to upload all of that. We just recommend you not do that until you have your actual teacher account, because everything that's in a pilot account is exactly that. It's a pilot, it's going to go away. We won't keep any of that for us to use in the future. But once we get the actual teacher accounts, everything that you upload here, that's your own creation. It'll stay there for the rest of the years of the adoption. Okay, so again, let me pause here.
Veronica, a question just came in that would be really good right now. Mark asked when students transfer. Actually, I didn't read your entire question, Mark. He said if they transfer from one period to another, does their data transfer? And so that should, right?
Yes.
As long as they're still with you, they would still transfer in your data.
Yes.
I read that, Mark, as if it came from another teacher, then you won't get the scores that they had from the other teacher. I do not believe. We could ask that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're meeting with the publisher tomorrow to see if we have a date on when we'll be able to get all of that, teacher accounts and all the rest of the information. We'll have a meeting with them tomorrow, and hopefully, if there are questions that we don't have an answer to today, hopefully we get those answers tomorrow.
Do you want to comment quickly on the point of how resource teachers, we might be able to share accounts type of thing?
Yes, so right now, the way that Pearson Realize is set up is the teacher owns the account and there is no collaboration per se between teachers. So maybe you have your PLC of geometry teachers and you create something that you all want to use, and maybe it's an assessment and you want to share. Right now through this platform, there is no way for you to share that file. You'd have to do it through like Schoology or something like that. But according to the publisher, there's an update coming this summer where it will allow you to share content and collaborate between teachers directly on the Realize platform. So if you upload something to your account and you want to share that with another colleague, you would be able to do that right through here. So that would really help in working with resource teachers, special ed teachers, maybe long-term independent study, all of that stuff. It would sync nicely with it. Now, we were told that was coming this summer. Hopefully this, closure and everything that's going on doesn't affect that, but it's supposed to be in the works.
I think the only thing we would have left to do is what Anne had mentioned about the workbook, and maybe we could do that afterwards, anybody who wants to stay on.
Yes, so we do want to honor your time. It is 2:00. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully you found some of this information helpful. And as we get more information in terms of when you will be getting your copies and your accounts, we'll definitely let you know. If you would like to be part of that pacing meeting also, please let us know, and we'd be happy to have your input on that as well. But other than that, then thank you for joining us.
So do we want to have Anne still on, right? She could walk us through where we could find that.
If Anne is online, that would be great if she could.
So Anne, go ahead and there you go.
So if you wanted to, well, I guess I could share my screen and I could just do it then. But if you go, I have a workbook with me, and let me just see here, because here we go. Let me see if I can do this and share my screen.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing this.
I haven't done this yet, so I don't know, but how does this work? I've been doing everything on Schoology conferences, so I feel pretty confident there. Can you see my screen? It's because I'm not yet.
No. Would you like me to do it on my end?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what all of this stuff is here. I want to get rid of some of this stuff. Okay, so if you are on the table of contents there, just go in and look at, just click on one of the okay, there's something I need to get rid of here. I don't know what this is. There we go. So click on like topic 1, since you're working on it. If you click on topic 1 and then lesson 1.1, you'll go in there and right under understand and apply, there's going to be places where you can, the things that you click on there will match up with what's in the workbook. So at the very top, and I think different topics have different things available. So for example, like the concept, undefined terms and defined terms, that is not there. But if you go to the third one down with the finger on it and find right there. So if you click on that, what happens is you get an example that comes up. And the example, you can have your students work through this, but if you click on the solution there, it's going to give them a solution. This is not in the workbook. However, at the bottom right, if you click on this next page, the next example that comes up is in the workbook. So all of the other pages that come up are the examples that are in the workbook. Now, some of them, like this one, doesn't have the number line that they have there is not part of the problem, but on some of them, the pictures are there that are in their workbook. But this particular one, it does not have the picture in their workbook. But that's what they can do, and they can work. I mean, I have had my students working through it. They put their answers in or tell their answers, and they can see what's going on, or we can use it as a class example for explicit instruction.
Mhm.
So, so you just have to click through the pages, and then it's exactly the examples that are in the workbook.
So all of the examples are embedded somewhere in the lesson. It's just a matter of figuring out where. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's that bottom right-hand little corner down there. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's where you're going to see if there's more than one page there, if it has 2 pages or 3 pages or sometimes 4 or 5 pages, mm-hmm. That's where the examples in the workbook show up.
Robert.
Got it. Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
And I do think I remember you coming once.
What was that, Ron?
Huh.
Okay.
Can you turn your microphone on?
No. Okay. Well, any other comments then that or questions that have come up?
I think Charity just asked a question. I was going to say no, but then I just looked at the chat and let's see. Charity just asked that when she noticed that when she logs in, there's a certain number of assignments have been completed. Is there a way to see which student it was and what assignment it was?
I think I would need to, let me see if I can do it.
Can you maybe get back into your data?
Let's see if this data.
Charity maybe.
I think Charity's are you referring to this? To this right here, that when you log in, it shows you on here?
Yeah, when you click on classes.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not there. It's like, so if you click on the, I guess the big circle button that says classes.
Mm-hmm.
No, where is it?
It's just go under where it says student status. Click on there. No. And then go back.
Go back.
Sorry, I know this one. Go where 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then go
right here?
Yeah, click there. And then here, click on the ones that are completed, the green one.
Hang on. Let me see.
And then scroll all the way down. All the way down. Keep going. And those are the ones that are complete.
Okay, so.
And you can click on where it says complete and you can see exactly what they did.
Yeah, but the problem, so what I'm referring to, I was wrong. You don't click on the circle button.
Okay.
On the screen. If you just go up and click on classes all the way at the top. Okay, on this page. So it shows you new assignments submitted. It gives you a number.
Mm-hmm.
But then is there a way to just see without having to go through all of the assignments that I have assigned?
Just click on assignment.
So as I hover through here, you're able to click directly on assignments. That's what Lori's referring to.
Click on assignments there.
And
but
then
it still doesn't.
Then go
still doesn't show you. So like on lesson 1.5, it shows 5 out of 32 completed.
Mm-hmm.
And click on that, and it'll show you which ones. But you have to.
That's the problem. It's taking me a really long time because I'll have a student come back through and complete a lesson from a couple of weeks ago, and it'll show me that somebody's turned in an assignment, but then I have to go look through everything that I've assigned so far.
Got it.
And see which one has the new assignment completed in it. Is there a way to just...
we'll put that down as a question to ask the publisher tomorrow, because I know that has come up also from another teacher asking for the same thing. Is there a way to quickly see what students have turned in without having to click through 20 different things?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll ask about that. There might be a way that we haven't yet figured out, but we'll ask that tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. If there are any other questions, we'll stay online. If you think of anything else that you would like clarified, or anything that you would like us to ask the publisher for tomorrow. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. We'll make the recording available to anyone who would like to go back and refresh. We'll have that on the MCS YouTube channel available for anyone who would like access to it. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I'll remain online if there are more questions.